Remember, Jesus was not merely born in a manger stall in the backwater of Bethlehem. He was raised in a town that actually had even more humble roots. And this is a really important part of the story that sometimes we just sort of glaze right over. He lived his life in Nazareth, as I mentioned earlier. Matter of fact, when one of his early disciples is first introduced by another disciple of Jesus to the idea that the Messiah had been found. He's been found, and he's been found in a place called Nazareth. That disciple's first thought when he hears about this is, can anything good come out of Nazareth? That's how people thought of Nazareth. It doesn't say, oh, finally our king has come. It's, can anything good come out of there? One of the things you need to think about when you're thinking about the nature of the kingdom of God is that everybody in Judea looked down on Nazareth. It was the wrong side of the tracks. But so much a part of this lesson that we learn at Christmas time is that God can use the lesser things of the world to teach us some really powerful lessons about true power, about what it actually looks like. We see it all through the Bible. The true power of his kingdom doesn't dwell in the strength or the size or the influence of man. His power, his true power, dwells in his strength and his might alone. It's bound up in the power of God, not of you and me. If you're going to adore the King this Christmas, if you're going to fully submit to his lordship, you and I need to come to grips with that powerful truth. Let me remind you here as I conclude. God dispatches Goliath not with a bigger giant, right? Y'all think God could have come up with a bigger giant to take out Goliath? I think he could have. But he doesn't, does he? Nope. Uses a little shepherd boy, the least of those. God speaks to Elijah through a still small voice, not through earthquakes and fire. Do you think God could have spoken in the earthquake and the fire and the power and that might bound up in those things? Sure he could have. Of course he could. How many times, if you've studied the Old Testament, can you look back at the victories that the Israelites won and see that before them, God, far from sending more troops, sending them more Israelites so that they might be stronger and better able by numbers to defeat the enemies of God, far from doing that, how many times do you remember in the Old Testament God actually reduced their number? And then sometimes reduced their number again. And then looked at it and said, nah, still too many people. Reduce it again. You think there might be a message in that? A reminder to us that our strength, our victory, the nature of his kingdom is bound up in his power and not ours? That weakness has a message? I think it's real clear. He places the babe in a manger in a humble town as the greatest, grandest, most poignant lesson there is about the meaning of Christmas and his lordship. There is strength in weakness. And we will find everything we need when we cede the throne of our hearts truly to the King. When we recognize we can't save ourselves. When we understand the nature of the kingdom. Throughout Jesus' life, the apostles and other disciples kept saying to him, Jesus, when are you going to take power and save the world? This was their mindset. And Jesus was making it clear to them, and this was hard for them to get, basically telling them, you don't understand. I'm going to lay down the right to earthly power, and I'm going to die to save the world. And at the climax of his life, he does not ascend to a human throne. Brothers and sisters, he ascends to a cross. And on that cross, he takes on your sin and mine. And he did this so that if we believe, we can be reconciled to him. So that when he comes the second time, and he will, he will put evil to its final end and prove for that once and final time his weakness was actually strength. Christ's kingdom, his power, lies not in a throne of power, but in a manger of humility. And it teaches us, it's such a powerful reminder that his ways are not our ways.